My name is Kendra Witherspoon, and the members of the team include myself, and we have Janet White and Osborne Murray. And so we make up the Atlanta team. And so we were given our project partners a couple of months ago. And so we've been working together through some ups and downs and some challenges, more recent challenges than anything else. But we're really excited about our project partner. And we're really excited to present the information that we put together for you all. So a little bit about our project partner, the Atlanta Community ToolBank. We have our point of contact, which has been Carol Honeycutt, who has been an amazing point of contact. She's been really flexible, really supportive in communicating with us and supporting us on all the ideas that we have had. And then we also have the executive director, Matt Walenciak. I cannot say that, but he also has been like a really awesome support as well. Most of our communication was with Carol, and she did some communicating with Matt, but all in all, they work together as an amazing team. So a little bit about the Atlanta Community ToolBank. They have their mission statement set there as far as serving a community-based organization by providing tools, equipment, and expertise to empower their ambitious goals. And so one thing, there's a couple of different parts of the Atlanta Community ToolBank that we're able to discover and find out, and in order to utilize it so that we can put together what our focus was with the volunteer engagement plan. They have a tool lending program which gives charitable organizations year-round access to their inventory of tools and equipment for a small fee. They also have a tool training center that provides youth and young adults introductions to tool use, repair, and safety. And they also have facility rentals available as well. So this organization has a lot of different avenues that they can utilize volunteers in. And so being able to learn and engage with them, to learn about these different aspects, really helped us create a well-rounded perspective of what they needed with their volunteer engagement program. And so the next slide here just talks about to volunteer, not to volunteer. And so one storytelling piece that I thought about was just my own experience with volunteering. Like, what was my why? What was I looking out of getting from it? And so keeping that in mind as we went throughout this process of helping them create some different aspects of the volunteer engagement plan is where I was kind of able to pull from. And because one of the goals is to expand the volunteers that are a part of the organization and supporting their mission, just really being able to tie that into how we approach trying to get more volunteers engaged and also expand what they already have. So one of the biggest things that I noted when it came to the history of the organization was that they began in 1991 as a community redevelopment Inc. And they started with a group of volunteers themselves. And they were providing seniors in South Atlanta with home repairs to make sure that they had warm, safe, and dry homes. So even the whole mission of them started was with volunteers. They received donations of time and tools that led to like an accumulation and growth of the tools that they had. And so eventually they grew into what's now the Atlanta Community ToolBank and their current missions. And that started in about 1998. And so they became Georgia's only tool lending agency. So being able to establish themselves from their own hearts for volunteering was really one thing that really stood out to me specifically. And so some of the things that we face when looking at this slide, we outlined the challenge, choice, and the outcome. So some of the challenges that are faced with volunteers is time commitment, trying to find that flexibility where they are able to fit into their schedules an opportunity to volunteer, to commit their time to an organization and a mission, as well as the perceived value or impact. What do they understand they're going to get out of this experience? And so with the Atlanta Community ToolBank, being able to know that they are being a part of a bigger mission of preparing tools, or whether they're just doing different things around the actual warehouse to make sure things are organized for those that are coming to pick up tools to do the work out in the community, being able to have that type of an impact is something that we want to emphasize to the volunteers. The connection to the bigger picture when it comes to the connection to the communities around these organizations or individuals that come in as well. And then some of the outcomes just in general when it comes to volunteering is being able to make new connections, new friends, maybe gain new skills and interest levels, as well as also having a sense of accomplishment. And also it's a really good thing to counteract any anxiety and stress. So those are some of the things that we focused on when we thought about how can we engage more organizations and individuals to become a part of the Atlanta Community ToolBank's volunteer program. So on the next slide, it pretty much just outlined what our goal was in being assigned to Atlanta Community ToolBank, and that was to create the volunteer engagement plan. The aspects of that we focused on are recruitment, which is a little bit of what I talked about already. Just how can we reach out and increase the visibility in the community to let people know that the Atlanta Community ToolBank is there and that they have different opportunities for volunteering, whether it's individual, whether it's corporate or other small groups. And so being able to identify and post those volunteer needs were a focus of ours. And so being able to utilize the social media, Facebook, kind of looking at what sources were already in place within the organization and maybe seeing how we could improve or enhance what was already there. Also sourcing out volunteer and job fairs. So being able to look at what was going on in the community and where they could show up and be present and be able to recruit in that way. So being able to kind of look at some options for that. Partnerships with local organizations, building relationships with the court systems, and my team members will talk in detail about those areas as well. In addition to that, the training and retention area. Just being able to build upon the appreciation efforts. So being able to show those volunteers that their work and time and dedication is appreciated, and really coming up with some really awesome ideas that my team members were able to come up with as well that we can be able to utilize. Activities that build upon volunteer morale experiences. So just different things that we could do to bring the volunteers together to kind of build that camaraderie. Looking at the volunteer job description outline so that we are able to maybe align people's skills and interests with what's available. And then also looking at creating a volunteer calendar. So being able to outline things that are going on in the organization throughout the year so that people that are interested in volunteering are able to just take a look ahead and be able to decide and plan their opportunity to volunteer.
Okay.
So next slide.
Oh, thank you, Kendra. So I'll cover the next few slides. And as Kendra mentioned early on, that we did have some challenges in terms of working things out with our schedule as well as with our partners. So we tried to keep the core values of SLC in mind with the work hard, trust, learn and grow, respect, and have fun. So we were able to do all of this with our project. So what we decided to do as a team was come together and do short-term and long-term goals. And based on that, once we brainstormed with that, we were able to have our first meeting with our partners, and the pictures that are on the slides are the pictures that we took on our initial meeting with our partners. So with that, we scheduled the volunteer open house, and that was scheduled for March the 14th. However, it has been postponed because of COVID-19. So we created a calendar to attend career day events, and that's something that Kendra spearheaded, and she was able to come up with a really great calendar. And that was one of the things we wanted to do, was kind of engage a younger group whose whole thing is social media, and that would build on a social media piece for the Atlanta ToolBank. And then we also came up with short-term to establish ideas for tokens of appreciation and maybe have a tier-based award. And then Carol said, well, maybe we could do something that they actually create a token coin at the Atlanta ToolBank to give out to those individuals who provided volunteer service for a certain amount of time, whether it's months, years, and give that out. And so the next slide is going to talk about our long-term goals. And what we decided on that would help the Atlanta ToolBank is to establish a post-volunteer survey. And based on those surveys, they could see what they needed to tweak, what worked, what didn't work, why would volunteers come back, and then for those who didn't come back, if they knew why, then maybe that was something they could tweak to kind of help with their retention as well as bringing new volunteers. And then the other area was, Kendra spoke about this, to establish a speakers bureau And that would be people who currently volunteer or people who just love speaking, that they could come in and speak on behalf of the Atlanta ToolBank and different organizations in the Atlanta area to get people to come in and volunteer. And again, the increase the presence on social media, that would be using the college students and some of the students at local churches, because that's their thing, these days is social media. And then of course, we want to engage the community partners within a 50-mile radius of the Atlanta ToolBank, because they have so many new businesses, as well as the area that's called the Beacon area, that they have new businesses. If we could get those flyers out to them, so they'll know that the Atlanta ToolBank is there and the opportunities that they could get from working with the Atlanta ToolBank. And the other piece is they certainly use the facility to rent that out to increase their revenue. But another way that we recommend that they increase revenue is actually having people who volunteer become donors. And that maybe they could set up something where it could be a challenge with different organizations who come in to volunteer, that it could be they raise a certain amount, but they're trying to beat each other as a team. So that would be something that they could do. And then if you could see on this slide, they have this up in their shop that says, if we can't fix it, we'll make sure no one else can. So that was kind of cute that we saw when we went there. And then on the next slide, it just talks about our highlights from our process. And again, we conducted brainstorming sessions via text messaging, conference calls with our partner, as well as with Matt. We developed ideas collectively and presented it to the staff. And one thing, when we presented the ideas to the staff, they were able to tell us what they tried in the past that didn't work. So we were able to just delete those items and work on things that they felt that would work for the organization and increasing their volunteer pool. And then also streamline the processes and creating the volunteer engagement plan. And then with that, ultimately we presented them with the short-term and long-term goals chart. And we provided Matt with a copy of that he was able to kind of take a look at all those items that we came up with. And then as we move along, on the next slide, Osborne is going to pick up from this slide.
Thank you, everyone. And again, I'd like to say it was really a great opportunity to work with everyone, especially Kendra and Matt and Janet White. We all came together, especially when we came up with this to host a volunteer open house. We all agreed that in order for them to actually try to get more people is to invite people in and see what they actually do. They have a plethora. If you look at the pictures that we have on the screen, that's just one of them. They have so many training opportunities. They have so many tools to learn from and to learn about, and classes that they give. If we invite the public or the community in to see what they're actually doing, it would actually allow them to have a better pool to pick from. Also, if you look at the post meetings, we were trying to set a benchmark to make sure that, like, for the short term and long term, again, our short term goal was basically to get as many people in as possible. And then the long term goal was to make sure that we have a recurring amount of volunteers who will be coming back and we can have a pool to pick from. Also, I have, if we can go to the next one. When we're trying to increase the volunteer pool, we all agreed that most of the time we know that college students and even high school students right now have to have a community hours. And that was one of the biggest things that we were looking at, because we have an AU center here, which consists of 3 different colleges. Plus we have Georgia State, Georgia Tech, which are all right close to each other. And we all have contacts with those organizations. And we've already put fillers out, and we have a lot of people who wanted to come to this to volunteer from. So that was one of the biggest pools from the students. Also with the new businesses, the businesses that were in the area, new businesses, also with churches, because as you know, in the communities, you usually have at least 10 churches around the same area, and they're always anxious to do something, and they're doing projects. And with this, it will give them a cheaper rate than Home Depot would or Lowe's would on renting out their tools and equipment at a much better rate. Because with here, their rental rate is like for 2 weeks. And I think we also even rent out with Mission Continues here in Atlanta. And I've never seen any prices as low as they are. And plus, if you have membership, even they have 2 different ways. If you're a member or if you're not a member, and the membership fees, it's just, it costs nothing to be a member. So it will be advantageous to be a member because it's a lower price also. We were looking for, okay, again, to increase the quarterly volunteer open houses. Again, we were stuck because of COVID-19, and we had a really huge event planned, but you know what happened. Between the COVID-19, we had actually we had Republicans and Democrats who was willing to come. Go figure that. All of them for the State House, and we had people from other parts of the Mission Continues, the American Legion, the Wounded Warriors, and some of the other church organizations that were willing to come also. I do believe that with if we would not have had this, we would have, also, which Janet and Kendra did agree to, because I was going to say, because I had, right after 12, it was going to be like bourbon hour, bourbon tasting time. So we have a bourbon connection. It's with Four Roses Bourbon, and she was going to actually be there to give out bourbon, just to make it a good time. So I do believe that once we do move forward and get past this, that the opportunities will be boundless for us to work with the Atlanta ToolBank and to move forward to increase their volunteers, not only with the college students and the local businesses, but also returning citizens. We did look into that, but we had to make sure that they all had background checks, because you don't want every and anybody to come, because then we will be liable for if something happened. So all of them would be we would have them to give background checks, which mostly Salvation Army gives background checks to all of their people that they are sending out. And that was one of the wealth of the pool of volunteers we were going to get from the returning citizens. We had the connection with her. They're right down, because they have a facility downtown which they house them, and they have to have community hours. So those community hours would have been shifted over to the ToolBank to make sure that they can help out the ToolBank as many hours as they like. Yes. We also were going to do, as it says, the annual award ceremony for the volunteers. We would, like Janet said and Kendra said, we were looking to give award or give reference to the people who did the most volunteering for the organization. I saw when we were all there, they had an amazing coin that they had for the ToolBank. And between the coin and a pin that I was thinking about, a lapel pin, which I think would have been great also. That's for the lower amount of hours, maybe up to 10, but to get the coin that they had, it's really would have been, for more hours. I think what we said, 50 hours plus, something like that. But we hadn't come up with the amount. I think it was 50 hours plus. That was a part of the tier group. And then also to start a campaign for giving for the volunteers. Just between the giving, establish the speaker bureau, which I think Ms. Kendra's already talked about, and also engage with our politicians. Everybody was on board, even with the politicians down at the Capitol. They were willing to come, and it was all a go. But I think that it would be advantageous for us to keep going with the digital marketing and advertising, like Kendra said, to make sure that they stay aware of it, because if you don't say it, then it's left and it's lost. So, but the expected outcome is, I think, that it will grow into not only just as I want to say, I think it will grow past, if we can move this forward. I'm pretty sure that we can have them continuous annual growth with their volunteers and training programs to even expand, because I know they're talking about opening up another one in another state. I think she said South Carolina or something like that. And that would move over as a written out SOP, so they can just stop and open up and go from there. So, next. There you go.
Yeah, and that concludes our presentation. We're welcome for any questions and feedback.
I think everyone left, except Matt.
Everybody.
No, some of the folks had to start opening up the next room for the LA team that's coming right behind you guys. But
Oh, okay.
I know that there are still some folks here, and I want to keep it open to them for questions. We have all the time we need, guys. So
Roger that. Roger that.
Yeah, no, we're still here, man. We're still here for all you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I just want to say I do appreciate the opportunity to work with the tool bank. Since we already work with the tool bank, the mission continues also. And my partners were, again, great to work with. And even though I was really trying to get back and forth with them because of this thing at the Capitol, but they understood my dilemma. I appreciate you guys. And but it got done. So thank you. And thanks, Matt, also for understanding and that it wasn't, we're just trying to make sure it worked.
This is all great stuff. And Matt Walenciak's a friend. I've gotten to do a few things with him with TMC over the years. I'm really glad you guys got to know him. And I haven't gotten to meet Carol herself, but I know that the Atlanta ToolBank team has been impressive every minute that we've done anything with them, at least.
Yes, they have.
I'd love to hear what you guys felt was like challenging in this process. Like, what are the biggest hurdles you had to overcome? And then what were some of your highlights as well?
Kendra?
Yeah, I would say, well, I'll start with a highlight. I think the highlight was that, the staff at the tool bank were so open and excited to work on this with us, and we're giving really good feedback. And so that's really helpful, especially with the feedback, because we can have like all these different ideas and things that we would like to do, but being able to hear directly from the partner agency and understanding from their perspective what they've tried or, kind of how things operate, help navigate the direction that we went with things. I guess the challenge I would note, other than just scheduling, just my group, scheduling to get together, but we always overcame that. So I don't even know if that was too much of a challenge. It was just something that we worked with and around. But there are so many resources in Atlanta in general. And so there's a lot of people looking to volunteer, and there's a lot of other organizations looking for people to volunteer too. And so kind of finding that sweet spot and making sure that we found the people that would align great with the tool bank has been an interesting process, but I think we really worked through it and were able to identify different sectors of people that will align greatly with the mission that the tool bank has.
I had a quick question for y'all. What do you feel like you were most relying on, or you most utilized in terms of the knowledge and skills that was provided throughout the program as you were going through this project?
Is that Heather?
It is Heather.
Oh. Okay.
I think for me, the two areas that I felt that really worked was the grow model that we went over, as well as the constant talk about self-care, because without the self-care, we would not be able to show up and get our project completed. So we would always check in with each other and say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And again, just utilizing that grow model, because you could use it personally and professionally. And that was a big help anytime we got stuck.
I would say the DISC model was one that helped me learn my team members also, and also with the people at the tool bank. You'll see how they are and what type of personalities that they have. That was one of the biggest things that I took from it, because it was because I know sometimes I just look at folks and be like, yeah, okay, we're gonna work it because everybody's happy and it's a good euphoric place, but then it made me look, I was like, oh, that's the type of person I'm dealing with, a D or an I or a C, or whatever type of person it may be. But that made me look at, I can evaluate a lot of things a lot easier. Also, working with the tool bank itself, showed me a lot of listening to them instead of telling them, actually, this is what we're going to do. We go back to that all the time, instead of, let them tell us what they need, and we're not there to fix them again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you're right, we're not here to fix them. We're just trying to see if we can actually improve their volunteerism and things of that nature. So that worked out for me, using the tools that you guys taught us. So.
I was going to ask you about you guys about the disc stuff, because my observation of your team among my teams was that you all did really well, fell right in line with each other pretty well, pretty quickly, and that you worked well together throughout the program, even when there was challenges that came up. And I was going to ask you all as a team how much you felt like disc had prepared you for that, and how much you felt like it was just that you guys worked well together. But
yeah, it prepared me as well, because knowing what somebody else brings to the table and being able to value that opposed to pushing it away. And again, when we did have differences, we were able to agree to disagree and stay focused on what we were, the mission or the vision to get it done. So it was a big help.
Yeah.
I had a question. First of all, you guys did a great job, and you're our first group, so you've set the bar pretty high. What's the one thing you think coming out of it that you think that the ToolBank is really or they've actually told you that they're really gonna embrace and is really gonna be the piece of this that you can say, we did that. Like, that was a direct result of the work that we did with them, and we really had an impact in helping them increase their capacity?
I think the biggest thing would be the quarterly volunteer open houses. They were really excited about this open house. So they were really disappointed that we couldn't pull it off because of what's going on right now. But Carol they were just all in for this open house, really all in. And she was able to make the contact to have the food and the snacks there for the open house. And she was going to have the giveaway bags for the first 15 people who registered. So that's the one thing I think that they would keep moving forward with, that and doing the post surveys with the volunteers, right, in my opinion. So I don't know what my team members may think.
Yeah,
I agree. I think they were insanely happy with that idea that we came up with about, doing the open house, because again, it not only got them, but it invited the whole community in who didn't even know. And again, we got the other nonprofits, we invited them out. And I think it would, again, that would be one of the biggest things that I know will stay with them. So yes. I'm sorry, Kendra. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody.
Does anybody else have any more questions for the team?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that you guys did a really awesome job, and it's great to see your faces on here. And your PowerPoint was so professional, and your speaking was so eloquent. Like, it was just fantastic. So it's obviously you put a lot of work into it, which is awesome. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you. Truly appreciate it.
Great. Yeah, it was a really awesome presentation. Thank you guys so much for putting the effort in.